All summer, I have rebelled at this publicity. I've climbed into a shell. I've tacked private, no admittance over my life, and it won't work. Ruth Bell Graham, summer of 1954. Ruth, is that when you first realized that your life was never going to be the same?
I think so. I think so. 54, that's a long time ago.
That's about the time you decided you needed to move you and your family up to this mountain, away from some of the pressure.
People were peering through the windows. And
you told me about a time you were in bed ill with a migraine?
Yes, and looked up to see people peering through the windows. Well, you can't live that way. So, but you get accustomed to, I think the lack of privacy is perhaps the hardest thing to put up with. I'm sure it is for my husband. I don't have the problem. I mean, I can walk around town, and no problem. He can't eat in public without people coming up to speak to him. And that's all right, because there are tremendous opportunities to witness that he has, because people recognize him and they come, and he's had the opportunity of leading people to Christ on airplanes. And I remember one trip I took with him to the West Coast on a plane, and 4 people came up, including the captain of the airplane, saying, "I came to Christ under your ministry."
Ruth, I sympathized with you when I read this. I felt your panic, the private, no admittance. You were going to be an obscure missionary in Tibet, and life, I'm sure if you could have seen it from that vantage point, you would have panicked and run.
Exactly, exactly, but it's been worth it. I mean, God does not promise grace for anticipated trials, but His grace has been sufficient. And not only that, but there's been a lot of joy and a lot of unexpected surprises along the way.
And you haven't just accommodated this life and lifestyle. You've been a source of overflow. You've turned right around from this initial reaction and given so much of yourself, so much more than you had to.
Well, I've gotten so much from other people, from the Lord, from books I've read. I'm not talking about material things that they can come and go, but I'm thinking about rich stories of lives of people whom God has touched, and things that I've been privileged to read in wonderful old books, and friends that I have made, and stories of conversions. I mean, there's so much to be thankful for. There's no room for complaining now.
I have to read this. The crew was teasing me because I made them listen to this. They teased me about my office, you see. And I made them listen to this. May I put you on the spot here? I don't even think you know who said this, but you've agreed it's all true. When she traveled, the clutter traveled with her like iron filings after a magnet, and relocated wherever her next bed was. The dining room table also made a fine desk. On it you might find a heap of maps, scrapbooks, and photographs. This is a woman after my own heart. The last thing my husband said before I left was, "Couldn't you do something about the dining room table?" Ruth, you've given me so much in just being you.
Thank you. It is fun being a pack rat, isn't it?
Billy Graham, by the grace of God and the support of his family and team, has guided millions of people to faith in Jesus.
Come and receive Him into your heart and say yes to Him.
His legacy as an evangelist is unmatched.
And eternal life does not begin when you die and go to heaven. It begins here and now when you make this choice for Christ.
Now in his 90s, he's reaching out with a final message of what it means to finish well in this life. Nearing Home is a moving narrative that speaks to this side of heaven about building strong foundations, facing life's transitions, making wise decisions, and understanding our glorious hope. This offers our thanks to you for your best ministry gift in support of Crossroads. To order your copy of Nearing Home, visit crossroads.ca, write to us in Canada or the United States, or simply call 1-800-265-3100.